Hey everyone, my name is Chelsea. Welcome to my pantry. I'm happy to have you here with me today where we are going to talk about ways that my husband Dan and I save money on our farm. Over the last couple of weeks, we have been talking a lot on my channel about saving money. I have always shared really thrifty ways to make food. I garden a lot. We raise a lot of our own food, and those are all ways that we save money. And I've been talking about that on my channel for a really long time, actually pretty much since the beginning. But I've been really focusing on specifically how much you can save doing the different things that we do here. So one of them is home canning. I did a video recently where I talked about how to save money with home canning. I also did a video on how to save by buying bulk. My bulk food pantry is right behind us here. And then I have been sharing lots of different thrifty recipes, really delicious from scratch recipes that use inexpensive ingredients. And that has been so much fun. And it has Dan and I thinking about other ways that we save money here on our farm. When Dan and I got married, we had hardly 2 pennies to rub together. We did not have a lot of money. So we learned how to do a lot of projects in our house ourselves. So that includes renovation projects. So we learned how to frame and drywall and paint and do flooring and all of those kinds of things, but also how to do some DIY kind of fun projects, making furniture, repurposing old things, making them new again by giving them a little bit of a facelift. And we have saved thousands and thousands and thousands. I can't even tell you how many thousands of dollars doing that. So I thought it would be fun today to share with you some of the projects that we have done in our house over the last few years that we have saved a lot of money on, and then to actually take you down to the shop and do a project where we repurpose something old and turn it into something new for our home. The reason that I started here in my pantry is because Dan and I built this pantry ourselves, and we repurposed a lot of materials that either would have ended up in the landfill or in the burn pile, these shelves being one of those. This is repurposed fir. It was a combination of an old cattle sorting arena and old fences that we took, we ran them through a planer, we sand them, we cut them to size, and Dan built these beautiful shelves out of them. Dan will be the first one to admit, and in fact, he would really want me to state that he is not a woodworker. A lot of what he has learned has just been trial and error. And he always says that if somebody who really knew how to do woodworking looked very closely at some of the projects he does, they would be able to see all kinds of flaws in them. And I always laugh at that because I think everything he does looks really beautiful. The reason that I say that is because you don't need to have a lot of skills or fancy tools or equipment to be able to build something like that. And I know looking at it this way, that's hard to believe, but just take my word for it. And we're going to prove that point when we go down and we do the building project we're going to go down in the shop, do in the shop. But all we needed for this was a planer, and it was a planer that we bought, I think, when we bought our first house in our early 20s. And it was really inexpensive. It's very old. It does not work very well. So we planed this. We used a palm sander to sand everything, and then it is stained with some teak oil, which is a clear oil. It has a tiny little bit of color to it, but not really. And it just brings out the rich natural color of the wood. And then of course there's screws to hold everything together here. So these shelves themselves, outside of the work that it took us to do all of that, take down the fence and all of that, were virtually free outside the cost of the screws themselves. So I'm just going to show you how this is put together because it's really simple. This beam here goes all the way up through the ceiling, and then it attaches to one of the floor joists from the upper floor, and that's just to help give some stability to these shelves. And then you can see these are nice thick shelves, and we did that on purpose so that these shelves would hold up for a lifetime. So these boards here, these are actually 2x4s that Dan just cut down a little bit so they didn't look exactly like a 2x4 to the eye when you're looking at it. And then he just put some holes in them, some nice big screws going through, and then some cheap pine plugs here to plug the holes where the screws went in. So it looks really pretty, but super duper simple. And then these here, this is some more repurposed fir here. And he just built some little triangles back here to hold these in, and then brad nailed these on. Those brad nails are just these little tiny nails here. And these boards here are just to help keep the everything from falling off if we had a little bit of a tremor. And even just putting things on these shelves, it helps things not get knocked off onto the floor. Very, very simple, right? And then these here are actually bead boards. So just the bead board that you put on the wall as wainscoting. We just took that, cut that into strips with our table saw, and then painted it with some chalkboard paint. And then I just have these classroom style pieces of chalk here that I just write on. And the nice thing about this is that I can move things around in here and these just rub off, and then I can change where I put things. So again, super cheap outside of the cost of the paint. This was an old piece of beadboard that we had kicking around for ages. We do tend to keep building supplies, even if they're just a small amount of them, so that we can use them in future projects. And this is one time where that paid off doing that. And I think they look really cute. Kind of what I was going for with this was an old mercantile style pantry, and I think that we accomplished that. I really love it. One of my favorite things that we repurposed for this project was this old metal tin roofing here. So this was sitting in my mom's neighbor's yard for years and years and years, all rusting. You can see the rust stains that are still on there. So all we did with this is we just sprayed it off, and then we painted it with a clear coat just so that it can kind of have a little bit of a sheen to it, and that the rust can stand out a little bit more, because I loved how the color, the orangish kind of red color of this wood brought out that red rust in the ceiling. And I think it looks really beautiful. I absolutely love it. And then he just used some little bolts to bolt it on that gives it a little bit of an industrial look that I really love. So we did end up putting flooring in this pantry. You can see the flooring down there. It's nice wide plank, just engineered. It's not wood, wannabe wood flooring. It is waterproof, which was important because we're down in the basement here. I really wanted this flooring in here, but prior to this flooring, we actually just had this painted a dark red color. You might remember that from not last year's pantry tour, because we had this floor in, but the one before and the one before that, we had the red painted floor, and that looked really pretty. I just really wanted the wide plank flooring in here to give it more of that mercantile feel that I was going for. And then we have a couple of rugs there. They were $5 each at Winners. And then I have this, and I got this at Walmart, believe it or not. And the color just went perfectly with this. And I use this to write things that I'm running low on in the pantry, or I'm out of, that I need to buy. And it's just a chalkboard. And I think this was around $20 or so. The only thing that we did down in the cold room, this was the original cold room that was here when we moved here, is we painted the whole thing white to make it really bright. We did the flooring, and then that shelf that's on the end, my mom actually gave that to me, and she got that at the share shed. So share sheds here in British Columbia are sheds that are at our local dumps that people can put things in that are too good to go into the dump itself, and then people can come and take them. So she got that one there. I just painted it bright white, and I think it looks really nice. So that room really only cost us the price of the flooring and the paint. The most expensive part of this entire project was building this room itself. So the 2x4s, the wiring, the insulation, and the drywall itself. Dan thinks he was trying to remember back, and he thought it was around $500 total, including the light that we put up here. And then this little vent, this is actually a vent that vents outside. There's nice cold air coming in from there. And we put that there so that there could be fresh air in here, but also to help keep the temperature down and nice and cool. So around $500 or so. To be fair, that was, I think, 6 years ago or so that we built this. So obviously prices are higher now, but still relatively inexpensive and primarily made with repurposed, free or cheap materials. Now we're going to head up to the kitchen, because the kitchen is another space that we got a little bit creative to take something old and turn it into something that looked new and cute. Okay, this is our 1970s kitchen. This house was built in 1974, and this kitchen is all of the same cabinetry that was here in 1974, and the countertop on this side is also the same 1970s countertop, as you can probably tell. When we first moved in here, this counter that's over here was actually right here. And there was a cupboard that hung down, and so there was only about this much space between the cupboard and the counter itself. So basically useless workspace. The fridge was over here, which blocked a lot of the light from being able to kind of flow around the space, and I really like as much light as possible. And then the stove was over where the fridge is. So we moved that around. We took the hanging cupboards down and removed those. And then we took this here, this counter that was this way, and we just unscrewed it from the floor. There was just a few screws holding it in. and we moved it over here. This is one thing we did purchase, this countertop. We got that at Home Hardware, and I think it was $300 if I remember correctly. And it's quite large, as you can see. I'll back you up a little bit so you can see. So you can see the full size of it there. It's very large. Oh, those stairs that you can see over there, those are also made with the repurposed fir as well. We have repurposed fir all over our house. But anyway, so we made that so that I had a big workspace. So the reason that we didn't put this island over here, which I've had a lot of people ask me over the years, and because originally we did actually have it right here, is because we wanted to have an open kitchen so that you could walk in and out of it without anything impeding the flow of traffic through the space. And that's worked out really well for us. One of the other things we did, you can see that the cupboards themselves have trim around them. So Dan actually just took some trim. Brad nailed it on there, and then I painted the cupboards. We did get some antique brass looking hardware to just add to that kind of vintage style vibe that we were going for. And I think it looks really cute. The one thing that we have talked about replacing in this kitchen over the years is the countertop, because it is very old. But friends, it is kind of shocking how well this counter has held up to the amount of use that I give this kitchen. There are 1 or 2 chips along the edge over there, but honestly, I think we'll probably just leave this kitchen as it is until our kids are grown, and then maybe we'll invest in putting in another kitchen. But for now, I think it looks cute. It cost us very little money to completely rearrange this kitchen, make it big enough and usable enough with this big counter for me over here, that it is just not worth going and spending $30,000 or $40,000 on a brand new kitchen. Oh, I should say one of the other things we did do is we did put in some new flooring. This is just cheap linoleum that Dan and I did together. I don't really recommend doing linoleum with your spouse because it's very challenging and tedious and difficult, and it is amazing that we made it through, but we did. And I think it looks cute, and it was really inexpensive. We got this as a roll end, the linoleum that we have here. I don't remember how much it was because it was a few years ago, but it was really cheap. So all in all, this kitchen probably cost us, let's say, with the hardware, the countertop, and the flooring, maybe $600 or so, give or take. So definitely worth it. And this is not a fancy kitchen. This is definitely a farmhouse working kitchen, but I think it looks cute. And one of the nice things about just having old cupboards like this is I can change the color of them whenever I want, which if you've been here for a while, you know I have done quite often throughout the years. This is probably my favorite so far, this sage color green, and I imagine I'll probably leave this for at least a few years because I really like it. It's quite bright and goes with that vintage look that I'm going for. So now we're going to go out to the shop and we're going to take something old and make it new again. And I can't wait because this is a project that I think I started talking about on my channel maybe 3 years ago now. So I'm really excited to get into it. Do you guys remember how I said that we were having an early spring and it was so beautiful and all the snow had melted? Well, we're back to winter now. What are you doing, Oakley? Cutie pie. Yeah, so it snowed, I think, for the last 4 nights, but it's been really warm during the day, so it keeps melting off and then snowing again, but it's a little bit cooler out now and snowing again. So I think we're up for a few more weeks of winter yet. Okay, we're down in the shop now, and you can see I have some wood here. This is wood that Dan and I salvaged from an old gate that we had here on the property, and I think I might even have a video about that somewhere. If I do, I'll link that for you. But it was a couple years ago that we were planning on doing this project. We just have not had time, and now I finally have time. Our basement we have been renovating over the last year, and we're finally at the point where it's finished, and the table that I'm going to make out of this wood is going to be going down in that family room. So you can see back behind me here, I have an old coffee table. My mom gave me that coffee table years and years and years ago, and it is in some serious rough shape. Let me show you. So this has been sitting in our barn for quite a while. You can see paint's all peeling off. The drawers are broken here. We don't have any handles on it. The top is actually oak. I think this looks like oak grain, but I don't love oak. And I really want to keep the whole fur thing that we have going on in the house with our beautiful old repurposed fur. So we have this is, Dan made our stairs that go upstairs out of this. We have it on toppers everywhere. We have a little bit of it in the kitchen. And I really want to keep this theme going throughout the house. And I love the whole repurposed part of it. The fact that these have been used on this property for maybe upwards of 60, 70 years. So I just love that. I love these whole bolt holes here and just the patina of it. This is what I want. So we're gonna start with dismantling this table and taking this top off of it and just getting the bottom of it all sanded and ready for a fresh coat of paint. I haven't decided what color I'm gonna paint this yet, but I'm gonna start with getting this top removed though, and then just see what I'm working with. The reason that I've decided to repurpose this and put a new top on it rather than build an entirely new coffee table is because this coffee table is actually solid wood. It's very good quality, heavy and sturdy. So I'd rather just repurpose it than have to do something entirely from scratch. Plus my woodworking skills are definitely not at the point where making the bottom of a coffee table would look good when I was done. So I am going to sand all this and scuff it all up so that it's good for a fresh coat of paint. Okay, so I am going to have to build something here for the drawer to fit on because the other one broke off, but this is just wood. So I think I can probably handle that. And if I can't, I know my husband can. So all we have here at the bottom of this is a few screws that we need to take out in order to remove the top of this board here. And you know, it actually looks like it's a veneer, not solid wood all the way through. So that top part of the wood that looks like it's oak, it's just a veneer that's on the top of plywood. So I'm happy to replace that with nice solid wood. Let's find a drill, shall we? Fit in there. Not really, I might need to take those out by hand. I don't want to just break these off because I want to reuse these little wood mounts that are here for my new top. All right, now the moment of truth. Is this glued on? Oh, it is. Darn it. Okay, so I have two options here. I can actually just remove them from here and make new blocks myself, or I can stick something in under here and see if I can pull that off. Darn, I'd hoped that wasn't the case. Oh, these are just popping off. Yay! Oh, that's fantastic news. Pretty heavy duty, but because it's a veneer on the top, wouldn't be able to sand it down too much because it'll just go right through it. But I'll put this aside and see if maybe I can use this somewhere else. What I'm actually thinking is for a butchering tabletop. I love being able to cut on wood when I'm meat cutting rather than stainless or plastic. It's just a lot easier. So maybe I'll save that for that. We have this to sand, and I also need to make a new block for over on that leg because the actual piece that holds the leg on is broken off. So, but let's get a palm sander and start sanding this off first. Oh, you found the little piece of wood. So I can just reuse this. I brought the wood glue down too. Okay, perfect. Dan found the piece of wood from the leg, which is great because then I don't have to get fancy with cutting it. But hon, you know what I do need your help with? Is cutting a new board for here. I have the little mounts. Here, where did I put those? For it that I took off for this piece. but these go on there and then out. So I just need a new piece like that cut or made, which I'm sure is harder than I'm saying it is, isn't it? So I'm trying to do most of this project myself, but I'm sure that I'm going to need a little bit of help, especially when it comes to the big saws. I am comfortable using them as long as I have a little bit of somebody who knows more than I do to give me a hand. Don't want to cut my fingers off. But for most of it, I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to do it. I did notice, Hun, that we'll have to cut these down because they're a little bit longer than they need to be. But I'll get to sanding this. You can keep doing what you're doing. This is actually kind of perfect because what Dan is doing over here is taking an old bed frame and making a frame for, what is this specifically? This is for the chimney, like the frame you're putting around the chimney. So he has to build a frame around a new chimney that we have in the house. So it's just using this old bed frame, cutting it. So you're gonna see some sparks flying while I'm over here sanding, and that's where it's coming from, to make a new frame with it. So repurposing an old metal bed frame. I'm talking in today's video all about like repurposing old stuff and DIYing things. So that was kind of perfect. Hey Dan, you know what is super cool? Is this used to be dark green at some point? Like really dark forest green, yeah. So when I'm sanding, the green is kind of coming out. So I think what I might do is paint it like an off-white, an antique white, and then sand it so that a bit of that green comes out. What do you think? I think that'd look really nice. You don't care about you don't care about such things. Sounds like a good plan. A little brad nail that's sticking out from this. Should I just clip that off and put in a new one, or should I just try to reuse it? All right. I was thinking I could use, oh, look at that, hun, 3's perfect. I was thinking that I could use this for butchering. So I could trade this board out for that one so that we have holes all the way across on both sides. Okay. That gives us another board to work with somewhere else in the house. Yeah, it looks really cool. It's kind of what I always envisioned with it.
But do you want this thing to stick out really far, so
Oh, yeah, it's the perfect width. It's like exactly right. I'm gonna pull that. It's like perfect.
put it there. Just the next question is the whole way you want them.
I wanted them to be even from the end on both sides.
So
it
I'm
shouldn't
just
measure.
looking at this line.
Okay.
It looks like it's pretty close
Okay.
on both sides. Yes, it is.
We're doing flooring in our upstairs.
Pretty straight, so.
Okay, we're doing our flooring upstairs, so our good saw for cutting this is up there. So I guess I'll just take these up. Do we have a quad down here that I can run these up with so I don't have to carry them? It's at the barn.
Yeah.
All right, I'll go grab it. Dan is just saying that he doesn't think we should plane them now at this point because we have a really old planer. And what often happens when we run wood through is at the very end, it kind of puts a bit of a gouge in it. And because I already cut these to size, we don't want that to happen because we don't have any wiggle room. So I should have planed them before I went up and cut them. Lesson learned. Now I am going to spend a lot of time sanding. So I'm going to get these all sanded. What I do want to keep on these boards is some of this black. I don't want to sand that all off. I do want it to be smooth, but I do want to keep some of this character in this wood. So that's what I'm going to try to do. Do you have any more of those sanding pads, hon? And we even have some coarse ones too, which is awesome. You know what I don't want to sand off is these parts where you can see where that metal strip went across. Right here. I like that. Yeah. That looks good, hey? Mm-hmm. That was just a rough one though, so we'll do the finer one. I'll just do the rough one on everything and then go over and do the finer one. I'm not going to curve these edges at all. The rustic look is what I'm going for anyway. So I'm not gluing these together or, that's clamps a little tight. But I do want to make sure that my ends are lined up and smooth. So I'm just going to use the clamp to sand the end smooths. I am out by, I don't know, a little tiny bit here, maybe a millimeter or so. So I might need to take this board back up and just shave off this one end just a little bit. But other than that, it actually looks pretty darn good. Okay, so I have paint here. This is called Willow White, and you can see it's a little bit yellowish, so kind of an antique-y kind of white. And that's what I'm going to paint the bottom with. And then we have teak oil here that we're going to stain these boards with here. So I'm just going to give these a wipe off first. Get all the dust off them, and then we'll oil them. Okay, friends, it is now the next morning. We ended up having to go to the hardware store last night to get some new pieces for here because both of the sliders are broken on these drawers. So we got some new ones, which were just, how much were these? $1 a piece or something like that. Very cheap. So we're going to be attaching those. And then I want to show you the handles that we're going to put on these drawers. I'm so excited about this. So we have recently renovated an office in the basement, and there's new closet doors. So Dan got me these handles that I'm about to show you in a second for those closet doors. But when I was sitting in my office last night looking at them, I thought that they would be absolutely perfect for this coffee table. So do you remember how I told you that these are an old gate off an old cattle sorting arena area on our ranch? Look at these. They have little cows on them eating grass, which I just think is absolutely perfect. Plus they're super cute. They're actually really sturdy, made out of metal and glass, little drawer pulls. And I just think that that couldn't be more perfect with this cattle sorting arena wood here. So Dan is going to come down to the shop. Actually, here he is right now. And we are going to make, I'm going to show you a new one of these. So this is the slider that the drawer goes on and the other one is missing. So I just removed this one just now and took the ends off so that Dan can hopefully fabricate something. He thinks he might do it out of metal, but he's going to take a look at it and see what he thinks. So there you go, sir. All right, so I had this idea that we were going to be able to use some of this here, but Dan said that this will probably just break. So he wants to find a piece of plywood that we can make that piece out of. And that's basically it. Then I can put it all together. I did bring an old sheet down to lay these boards, excuse me, on the ground so that they don't get wrecked. The pellet stove that you can hear in the background, I'm sorry, it's a little bit noisy, but I didn't light the wood stove this morning and it was out when I came down here. So that has to go in the background to keep it warm in here, but it is a little noisy. But that pellet stove, Dan's dad actually gave us from a greenhouse that he had many, many years ago. And we had it in our house in an addition that we built in one of our houses that we've owned in the past. And then we took it out and brought it with us and put it in the shop. And it's been awesome. Pellet stoves are great for shops. Okay, so we got that. Pardon me? Don't they look great? I was so thrilled with how they turned out. I want to put those cute handles on these so bad, but I'm going to delay the gratification of doing it until the table is done. What about this wood for cross? Pardon me?
It's good?
Yep. Yep. Okay, would you be able to flip this upside down? I'm going to put a sheet down that I brought for this purpose.
One side and the other.
Okay. Okay, so we have our new ones. This is the old one. So we just made 2 new ones. Dan did, not me. And they look awesome. So we're just going to attach these on and see if the drawers work. Oh, it fits perfectly, hun. Just perfect. I have to say I'm pretty impressed with those sliders, hun. They're awesome. The screw just fell by your knee.
I'm impressed with them too. They look better than the original.
Yeah, they do. They work. So what was happening is that the bottom was kind of tipped up a little bit, so the drawers were sitting out a little bit like that on the top. But we think the reason for that is because the plastic pieces stuck up just a little tiny bit more. So Dan's just lowering the back down a little bit so that the drawers close completely on the top here. This just saved us probably $800 at least. How much was the coffee table that we have upstairs? Do you remember?
That was over $1,000.
Yeah, that was really expensive because it had the desk in it.
But I think the ones we were looking at were, I think you're nailed it. I think it was
Yeah, $800. Oh, hun, look at how nice that looks.
It was on sale for $6.99, but it was 20% off.
Right.
Plus tax.
Look at that.
It's actually amazing.
It is, isn't it? And look, hun, I have to say this. Look at my cutting.
Oh, yeah,
It's perfect. Well, it wasn't perfect. I actually had to sand down one of them because it was about 1 millimeter out, but
so we need to.
it looks so good. Yeah, I don't think I want to scuff the bottom. I kind of like it clean. Yeah.
We should,
Okay, ready? There. 1, 2, and 3. And then as long as we flip that upside down right on top of this, we should be. And now we can set it up so that
Yeah,
it's...
and then we'll just put some thin straps across.
Okay, hopefully we can use the drill to do all these.
Maybe just put two, like put the two middle ones in, and then two in that end, and then we'll know it's all.
Oh, Dad, these look so cute. Dad isn't sure about these, but I think those are so cute. We're keeping them, hon. They look amazing. Especially as a cattle sorting arena table. I mean, come on. It's perfect. They're so cute. And cheesy in exactly the right way. Oh my goodness. What do you guys think? Do you like the cow knobs on it? I absolutely love them. Dan is a little bit unsure, but I think that they're just perfect and they're gonna make me smile every time I see them. So, I don't know. You guys vote with me, okay? Vote down in the comment section because I want to keep them. I love them.
He likes some nice.
Yeah, it does look amazing. All right, friends, that is going to be it for us today. I hope you enjoyed hanging out with us. I hope you enjoyed watching us take something old and turn it into something beautiful that we're going to be able to put up in our house. And what I love about this table so much is there's history of our ranch that is wrapped up in this. And my mom gave me the table and Dan bought me the handles. And I just love it. If you did enjoy the video, please consider subscribing if you haven't already, and hit the bell notification so you can be notified when we put out our next video. I hope that you all have a fantastic day, and I'll see you again next time. Bye, guys. Oh, I love it so much. Wow, I can't believe we just did that.